Imagine you're playing a game. It's a good game. You're having fun. You play through the game going from place to place, blasting enemies, scrolling on your phone while dialogue you do not care about plays out. And then boom! The game ends. This is linear storytelling, and it's fine. Storytelling devices kinda can't be bad in and of themselves, however, it can present a problem. There are some games which have these things known as side quests, i.e. goals distinct from the main narrative and motivation of the game. In games which present the player with side quests, which do tend to be open world games, linear storytelling can often accidentally ruin a game. Now, it's not impossible to do a main linear quest. In fact, due to how humans experience time, it's often necessary. There are 3 games especially that manage to solve this dilemma of linear storytelling in distinct ways. Super Mario Galaxy is not an open world game, nor does it have side quests. However, it is a game with distinct worlds and locations that reward and promote exploration and creativity. Exploration and creativity are ideas core to the open world genre of games, so I think looking at something like Super Mario Galaxy is worthwhile. Super Mario Galaxy segments its gameplay into worlds or galaxies. Inside these enclosed levels, the game lets you take control to explore and progress. The game is linear and the solution to puzzles are usually preset, but it avoids stripping the player of their exploratory agency by integrating the exploration into the linear story through gameplay. Breath of the Wild goes a distinctly different route by fully committing to the open world idea and avoids pressuring the player into doing the main quest by making the game finishable at any point of time. Literally at any point during the game, you can waltz on over to Hyrule Castle and beat Ganon to death. No Master Sword needed, no Divine Beasts. This basically gives the player the freedom of knowing they can finish the game whenever. There's no rush to beat Ganon because, if need be, you can go there whenever. Because of knowing you can go fight the final boss whenever, it incentivizes the players to get more powerful and complete major and minor side quests to get prepared for the final boss fight. In Breath of the Wild, there's no rush to finish the main quest because, essentially, there is no main quest. At least not one with multiple steps. Fallout New Vegas is one of the best 3D RPG shooters you'll ever find. This game maintains player agency and ensures the player will explore the world without the distraction of main quest by simply not making the main quest end the game. At the start of the game, the player, from here on known as the Courier, is point blank executed by this Jugador. This fires off the They Went That-A-Way quest, which tasks Courier 6 with hunting down Benny and getting revenge. This quest brings you into contact with the 2 main factions of the game, along with several towns, and gives vague enough instructions that you often end up finishing several side quests on your truck while you search for clues. Now, I could go on and on about how just brilliant of a main quest this is, from the excellent side quests associated with it, to the way it shows off its world, or how it introduces nearly every single faction. But that would be for another time. Once you catch up with Benny in the New Vegas Strip, you receive invitations to meet Mr. House, Caesar, and the NCR. I don't remember their ambassador's name, which is kind of thematically fitting. Anyways, upon meeting Benny, you can deal with him in a few different ways. Blow him up, shoot his casino up, convince his lackey to help you get payback, talk him into a private meeting, stick a stick of live dynamite into his pants, slit his throat in the midst of passion.
Option 3, sexy times with the Ben Man.
Nice Charlies. Hello.
Kill him.
Oh!
Forgive him and let him go, and then later deal with him as a prisoner of the Legion, which allows you to do many things, including crucifying him, fight him mano a mano, or help him escape. After dealing with him at the Tops Casino, you also meet Yes Man, the final end-game player. And that's where the beginning main quest ends. The end-game quest and actual end of the game are all tied to quests started after this. So even if you shotgun the main story as you feel pressured by a main quest, you are given downtime to do side quests for any given faction and then just to explore. The They Went That-A-Way quest is the Courier character's quest and ends before the game ends. The actual player influence quest regarding what you do with the Platinum Chip and who you support at Hoover Dam is entirely up to the player and is divorced from the initial setup in favor of building off of the player's experience in the Mojave. So essentially, the main quest in Fallout New Vegas ends before the game does and just lets the player take in the Mojave at their own pace without the looming pressure of the main quest urging the player to rush to a new location. Fallout 3 does not do any of this. In fact, it does the exact opposite. The game's main quest line tasks the player with hunting down their father, Liam Neeson, who has escaped their vault mere moments before the player. This is a good setup for any game which main's focus is not open world exploration. The entire main questline sees the lone wandering traveling about the wasteland only a few steps behind their father, before being reunited and your father telling you that he can get the entire waste clean, free water, and recruits you to help him. Now, I think this is supposed to be where the game thinks it gives you downtime. In fact, it even gives you the dialogue option to tell your dad you're not interested in helping him with Project Purity. Of course, no one in the world has ever chosen this dialogue option, as it makes absolutely no sense. You just reunited with your dad. The entire main quest purpose is meeting back up with your dad, so it's strange to finally come and meet him and then just be like, hey, peace, my job's here, done, when that's been the entire motivation of the game. And then after helping with Project Purity, your dad kicks the bucket as the Enclave seizes control of the Jefferson Memorial as if it's a Middle Eastern oil field. At this point, you have to quickly rush the squishy scientist out of Project Purity to the protection of the Brotherhood's steel. Once you meet them, they give you the location of the GEC, which is the only sure-proof way of getting clean water. The Brotherhood tells the Lone Wanderer that they need to get this device as soon as possible to complete James's work. Your father is James, by the way. You are then kidnapped and have the GEC stolen from you. From there, you convince President John Henry Eden to blow himself up, which is hilariously easy. The president then gives you a genocide bottle, and you rush back to the Brotherhood, which launches an assault upon Project Purity. After you enter the control room of Project Purity, you get an urgent message telling you that it needs to be started right now or it will blow up, so somebody has to go in and input a code, and then bada boom, the game is done. So, where was the player supposed to do side quest and explore? Answer, nowhere. There's no downtime in Fallout 3's main quest line. If you have the Broken Steel DLC installed, you will get post-game content, and the quest to finish off the Enclave soldiers is less time sensitive and does give you a good time to go and do side quests. But that's DLC. You have to pay for that. The entirety of the base game main quest rushed you to do the story both in-game and out of it. It's not only the quest marker that pushes the player to finish the quest, it's also the in-game characters which push the Lone Wanderer to rush through the main quest as their father is always just one step away. This makes it seem as if the main quest is time sensitive, which it is not. Which is a major shame because Fallout 3 excels at its environments and quests outside of the main story. While mechanically, Fallout New Vegas exceeds 3 with flying colors, I'm gonna make the truly divisive statement and say that overall, the side content of Fallout 3 can at times exceed what New Vegas has to offer. From fake vampires to comic book characters fighting in the streets, to distinct caravans and some really cool city designs, Fallout 3 has a really cool wasteland. So this strict linear main quest structure severely limits the absolute blast you can have exploring. And here's the thing. You may think that this is unfair because Fallout 3 came out before New Vegas, and as such they learned from their mistake. No they didn't. Fallout 4 suffers from the exact same pacing issue. It's not as drastic in Fallout 3, but it's still there. To the point where in my very first playthrough, which I'm still doing as of right now, I've basically pieced out halfway through the main quest because I realized I might end the game too early. So instead of being invested in my child's kidnapping, I've gone, oh, that's gonna end the game. So let me go do all these other things. Now, I am a bit wrong on this, as Fallout 4 does have post-game content, but going in, I have no real way of knowing this. But then Fallout 4 suffers from its fixed the problem. It does not feel as rushed as Fallout 3, and as such the main quest kinda loses momentum. Again, the side stuff is so much more interesting that the main quest line kinda bogs itself down and you start to lose the sense of urgency to find your kid. There's kinda no reason to do the main quest line. But the main quest does not end the game, so there's no real reason not to pressure the player into doing this main quest. And I don't even know how they managed to make finding your kidnapped son seem not that urgent. Well, I do, but that's for another video. I also understand that I believe there is a break in the main quest line in between finding your kid and actually finishing the game. Again, I don't know exactly what that is because I haven't finished the game, but I can say that even early on, the pacing issue is like very obvious. Fallout does this a lot. They identify a problem with the previous game and fix it, but sometimes they fix it twice, making things just kind of strange. I got stuck a lot in Fallout 3 due to companions cornering me. Fallout New Vegas added a choice to ask your companions to back up in order to avoid this, but they also tweaked the AI and the way they made interior buildings, meaning I never needed to use it. In this, the double fix doesn't really matter. The backup button is a good failsafe for if the tweaked AI and map design fails somehow. But they were still redundant. A good redundancy, but redundant nonetheless. But when it comes to a pacing issue, a double fix is not a good redundancy. Either having post-game content or removing the urgency from the main quest are both ways to give the player downtime. But when combined, it kinda gives the player too much downtime. The two fixes directly interact with each other, making a worse experience than if only one ad existed. When you're making a story, you need to be careful not to give the consumers too much of one thing. They can't be too sad, they can't be too happy, they can't be too uninvested in the plot points or they lose interest. Nor can they be too invested in specific plot points so that they hyper-focus on that and miss the grander narrative. This is why New Vegas does such a good job in its linear storytelling. It hooks the player into a somewhat hyper-focusing on hunting down Benny and then removes that plot point, allowing the player downtime to become uninvested in the Benny part and invested in others. So even if the player does hyper-focus on one specific plot point too much, they're not going to lose the rest of the narrative because of that. Fallout 3 has a pacing issue where it hooks the player but never lets them off the hook to explore their world. Of course, with all RPG shooters, some of this is up to player experience and personality. But this is what I noticed while playing Fallout 3. Yes, I know this is a video much different from all the other ones I did. I'm going on vacation in a week and I wanted to get something out before then, so there's not 4 weeks without any videos. So yeah, epic, cool. Expect Fallout 4 review at some point, and the rest of the Fallouts at some point as well, and the Gallop and Ride video is coming, I swear.